mortuary. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about the very interesting buildings, most of them farm buildings, in the outlying areas of Barrydale. First of all, Lemoenshoek. Some 10 or so kilometres out of Barrydale, on the left of Route 62, to the east, stands a grand Karoo Georgian house that probably dates back to the late 1800s. The present owner lives abroad, and the house is in a poor state and is occupied by squatters. The Poplars. Across the road to the right and a little further on is the lovely old Cape farmhouse once owned by the Fullard family. A large stone barn stands at the entrance to the property, and the family graveyard is also situated there. William Fullard had the graveyard on the farm Warmwater, previously the family farm, exhumed and transported the remains of the family to the Poplars when the Fullards moved there. I haven't got this in my notes, but there is a really fascinating little story that I'd like to add here that is absolutely true. It's been verified by families who've lived here for generations. The Fullard family, as I've just said, lived on the farm Warmwater to the west of Barrydale. And another family lived on the Poplars. But for some reason, the farmer's wife at the Poplars really fancied Warmwater because it's a lovely, beautiful old Cape Dutch farmhouse. So the two families agreed to swap houses. And the Fullards farmed with pigs. So they had to move their pigs. It would have been quite a long way, probably about 30 to 40 kilometres from Warmwater to the Poplars. And after the first day, the pigs' trotters were all bleeding and sore. So they took them off the road, and believe it or not, they cut little bits of skin that you use for making veldschoen, and they wrapped them around the pigs' trotters for them to finish the journey. It's the first time I've ever heard of veldschoenen for pigs. So now we're going to talk about the building of Warmwater. It's some 18 or so kilometres from Barrydale on Route 62 towards Montague. It is so named for the brandy that used to be distilled there and had nothing to do with the spa at Warmwaterberg. Gideon Skeepers, who was ill at the time, rested there on his way to Montague. The building is a handsome, thatched, L-shaped Cape Dutch farmhouse with wolf end or leg of mutton gable. You can see it from Route 62. Then to the other side, to the east, Warmwaterberg. Originally established as the farm Eitvlucht in 1748 and owned by one Lotz, the property was bought by Jacobus Legranzi in 1885. That date, 1748, is interesting. Swellendam was established in 1746, I think. That's when the Droste was built. So all that time ago, there was already a farm out here. It was developed as a sanatorium because of the warm water from the springs in 1886, where bathhouses were built and a grand Victorian building to house those in need of the spa waters. From then on, it was known as Warmwaterberg. Across the road from the spa lies the lovely old homestead in Cape style with thatched roof and whitewashed walls. It's a very interesting construction, this building. It's a very long building, but right in the middle there are steps going up to the loft, which divide it into two separate homes. And interesting enough, I don't know how many people remember the series Arender which was supposed to be set on St. Helena Island, that was actually filmed out there. The property is still in the hands of the Khonzi family and is still run as a spa. Farming continues on the eastern side of the land. There's a bit of a mystery out there too. About 2 kilometers from the old homestead, close to Route 62, are about 30 unmarked shallow graves, and nobody seems to be able to throw any light on what happened there. They might be poor babe winners' graves. Some people think that there might have been a skirmish in the hills during the Boer War between a commando and the British forces. Who knows? Stonehaven, now we're talking about places in the past. Stonehaven, or the North Station. On this property in the Trudeau Pass, at the northern end, are the ruins of the station where Bain housed some of the convicts who were building the pass. This was known as the North Station. Close to the road is the small building that once served as the toll house. Towards the mountains further back on the property is a redoubt that was used as a lookout post during the Second South African War or Boer War. Some skirmishes did take place in the area. Another redoubt stands on a shoulder of a hill on a broad curve of the pass, right near the entrance to Barrydale, I suppose about 2 or 3 kilometers from the T-junction. The South Station. Close to the bottom of the pass and just below Letty's Bridge stands the ruins of Bain's South Station. This was the first supply station to be built when construction of the pass began. Little of the old walls remain, and the ruin is well hidden under an oak tree and surrounding growth. Southey's Arms. Not far from there, on the right side of the pass road, just before the T-junction with the Heidelberg-Seebark Road, is the house that Bain built for his family during the construction of the pass. It is a T-shaped Cape Dutch house and must have been grand in its time. On the south gable, the initials HH have been engraved into the plaster. These seem to be the initials of the well-known stonemason Hendricks, who also did admirable work in Swellendam. Scratched into the glass of a west-facing window is the name of Fanny Rates, who with her family from Klippenrivier in Swellendam often visited the Bain family. The building dates back to the late 1860s. Now I'd like to talk about a few lost heritage buildings that we're very sad about. Sterner's store. Opposite the hotel on the corner of Lang Street and Van Riebeck, there is now an ugly brick building that serves as a shop. It was once the butchery. In living memory, however, a gracious double-story building with decorative finials on the roof stood there, and there are photographs of it in the archives. It was a typical corner building with a front door diagonal to the road. It served as William Sterner's general dealer store, gunsmith shop and barber shop. It was demolished by one of the hotel owners without heritage permission. Old Courthouse. The old courthouse stood on the ground now occupied by the police station. It was a gracious Karoo Georgian building, visible in early photographs. The reason for its demolition appears to be unknown. Then the Mission Church on the corner of Tennant Street and Tinley. When the Morrison Church was sold to Kipi Botha, the congregants of the Mission Church moved to a thatch building on this site. During the week, the building was used as a schoolroom for coloured children. After Sunday services, the desks were carried back inside. The vestry, a separate plain building at the back, still stands. It is now used as a storeroom by the owners of the house, which was the Mission Posterie, which fronts onto Tinley Street. An extension in appropriate style has now been added to the house. Smithsville. And I'd like to say that the inhabitants of Smithsville don't like the fact that the place is called that. They quite rightly say, we are also Barrydalers. When the Apartheid Group Areas Act was enforced in Barrydale in the 1960s, local brown people and descendants of the Khwehwe were forcibly removed from their homes in Kemmieshoek, Die Rooikamp, and houses in Begrafniskloof, Hellier Hill and Milner Streets to the newly built but small and bare government houses over the hill to the south of Barrydale. These houses could not be seen from Barrydale, and the people were forced to live there, leaving behind their fruit trees, their vegetable gardens, their chickens, a few cows. They called the place Steek my weg, or hide me away. It was a cruel removal which caused tension between the coloured people and the white residents of Barrydale, who had previously lived very happily, cheek by jowl. The erection of hundreds of tiny RDP houses has extended Smithsville to the south, and another 80 houses are about to be built. Smithsville has its own sports ground, and there is a community hall on Tinley Street known as Fortshaven. A clinic stands at the entrance to Smithsville and serves people from all areas of Barrydale. There is a primary school, BF Woesthuizen, just below the clinic. I might just add there that in the old days, there was a clinic on the hill staffed by some wonderful coloured ladies who looked after women in childbirth, and also people who had TB. Some Smithsville residents have created beautiful gardens against all odds, and some have added decorative features to their homes. The house of Johannes Martinez, master stonemason, in Rondomskruk is a notable example. With its vegetable and flower garden, the canalsy is built, murals and woven front facade to the entrance of the house. Net for Pret, a privately funded after-school care centre for local children, occupies a house in Smithville and has done wonderful work for many years in developing the skills of youngsters. A number of young people who have been tutored at Net for Pret have gone on to tertiary studies in Cape Town and elsewhere. Thank you for this opportunity to talk about the history of Barrydale.